Right. So we brought in Mr. Umbulan. He was one of our students last year. He did quite well, very well actually. He was actually in part of UNISA Top 100. He's a very intelligent guy. Let's hear what he has in terms of the gen. I believe you guys need to know how others who made it, how they navigated the standards, how they were studying and all those kind of things. So let's just hear from him for just a few minutes, then we can start the class there. All right. Mr. Umblan, you can go on, sir. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you,
Good
sir.
evening, we can hear you.
Thank you. Give me a minute or less. Thank you. Uh, like Ian said, my name is Humbrani Mbeu, and Ian asked me to come and speak to you guys about my journey, the difficulties, the challenges, and subsequently the triumph. Firstly, I think that it is important that I start by commending you for your bravery and courage, those repeating for mastering the courage to face a known ugly cause, and the first timers for mastering the courage to face an unknown ugly cause. Some background. I did my undergrad in TEFLOP, and then I went to Mill Park to do the first of my two attempts. And then I went to UNISA to do my second attempt, which I eventually passed. So I know how to pass PGDA and I know how to fail PGDA. And through UNISA, I am an alumna, if I can put it like this, of uni tutorials. So I'm a product of the very same class that you're attending. I was very happy when I saw that today you're doing accounting policies, which is something that I used to struggle with until I attended these classes. I think my very first class was accounting policies, was IAS 8, and I walked away knowing how to apply IAS 8 in any context. So I'm a product of this very class, this very same tutor, and his unconventional yet effective methods of approaching and subsequently passing this seemingly impossible course. So, in fact, I did so well, and I'm not blowing my own, what do you call it? My own, I
On.
forgot. My own horn, thank you. Like Ian said, I was in the top 100 for 2025 UNISA PGDA. And which, to give you some context, we were around 800, give or take. And I'm only using the number of the people that were in the WhatsApp group. So we could have been more. So to be in the top 100, and because of that excellence, I got four offers to become an academic trainee in Rhodes University, in Walter Sisulu University, University of KwaZulu-Natal, and Stellenbosch University, which, if you know how those programs are, how strict they are about the academic trainee programs, it's very difficult to get in when you're from UNISA, because UNISA is not a traditional university, so they want people from traditional universities, preferably their own students. So, but I ended up turning all of them down, and I went to the Limpopo Provincial Treasury, which is where I'm doing my psychiatry training contract. Because of the money, obviously, they pay a lot of money there. So you should consider applying it for any treasury uh, training contract. If you are after the money, go for it. So all this is to make you see that you will not be wasting your money. In fact, I don't think that Ian is expensive. And this is not an advert, as you're already here in his class. It really is not expensive. 2.5, which is what I was paying throughout the whole year, is nothing compared to the value that you are going to get from his classes. So the money that you will be paying, the time and the effort that you will be applying yourself to these classes for the next few months will not go in vain if you want it to not go in vain, because essentially it's up to you. So I was given 10 minutes, but I have 6 or 7 things. So you will forgive me if I take more than that. Uh, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the difficulty of PGDA. I am certain that by now you've heard a lot of things, all sorts of terrifying things about PGDA. So the first thing that I'm going to do is categorically confirm to you that those terrifying things you have heard about PGDA are true. In fact, they could be worse. It is truly difficult. This year will definitely be the most difficult year of your academic life. That is how hard PGDA is. And I'm not saying this to scare you. You guys are not in undergrad anymore. I'm sure you realized how difficult accounting sciences or accounting in general can be in your final year. Now multiply that by 100. That is how difficult this thing is. So I am saying this to you so that you treat each day, each tutorial class, each study session, each test week with the seriousness it deserves. And the reason why this is the first thing I am emphasizing, the difficulty of PGDA, is that most people come to this realization too late. And I am most people. Remember, I did PGDA twice. I knew that it was going to be challenging, but I actually appreciated the difficulty by the time we were going to test three, and it was too late by then. I started taking things seriously when I started appreciating the difficulty. So you are very fortunate that Mr. Ian said to me, come and talk to them because I'm telling you before you write your first test, it's difficult. I feel like I'm not emphasizing this enough. It's difficult, it's brutal, it's challenging. It's everything you've heard and more. It will test you, but you can get through it by taking each tutorial session seriously. When you're here, apply yourself. It's very engaging. Take advantage of that. Apply yourself. Take your study session seriously. Every minute counts because this thing is difficult. Consistency will be rewarded and inconsistency will be severely punished. You don't save your year mark or your semester mark in PGDA. That is impossible. The people that can do that are an exception, and I do not argue exceptions, I argue averages. 8 out of 10 people will not be able to make a comeback if they are not consistent throughout the year. You don't want to find out if you can be the 2 out of 10. So make sure that you are consistent throughout the year. Apply yourself, take it seriously because it's difficult. The second thing that I want to talk about is learning how to take punches. And the reason why this is in my presentation, so to say, is because I failed my first attempt because I did not know how to take punches. Ian, last year, I think it was the last class. You will correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but you told us about when they were introducing IFRS 16, how difficult the first exam paper was because it was mostly IFRS 16, and most people walked away. And the reason why you passed is because you stayed and you wrote, was it the second paper, and you were able to pass because of that.
Yeah, that's
Now,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So the reason why most people walked out of that exam after writing one paper is because they don't know how to take punches. You need to know how to lose. I know this sounds unconventional because you want to win, you need to get your PGDA. But as much as you want to win, you should learn how to take punches. This is an important skill in PGDA because PGDA rewards you once when you get your final results. being in the top 100 is not the reward. The reward, you get it the day you get your final results once. So this is to say, one of these days, one of these test weeks, you will get your marks looking like lotto numbers. And this is serious. If you thought your 40s that you were getting in undergrad were low, people get 20, 10 here in PGDA. And it's not because they're not studying. They are studying. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it down. I think it's point number 4 or 5. So it is in knowing how to take a loss and how to take a punch that you will look at your 18% in auditing, 28% in tax, 30% in accounting, 34% in management accounting. When you have a test next week and say, I have to look forward, you need to learn how to take punches. It helps you to look forward. And also, another reason why this is an important skill is because there truly is no time to lick your wounds. The volume of work is too large. And the last thing you want to do is fall in love with the wounds that have been inflicted by PGDA. Most people do this, Ian. They will proudly say PGDA is difficult. Like I said, it is. But once you go into your study session, once you go into a test week with that mindset, it is a reflection of you falling in love with the wounds that have been inflicted by PGDA. Everyone knows that PGDA is hard, but you need to deny that. You need to say, I've been wounded. I got 18% the last time. It is what it is. Let's keep it moving. I can do this. I need to look forward. I need to look at the light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes you won't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you need to keep going. You need to keep going. You need to learn how to take the punches, the losses, the 18% that you'll get. I remember you told this to me when I got 34% in my test two last year, and you said you need to keep going, regardless of the 34%. I remember it was costing, and I had this thing in my mind. I am so horrible at costing. And you asked me, how did you get 75% in test one and 34% in test two? And I said to you, well, it's PGDA and I suck at costing. And you said you are in love with failing costing. That's going to be your undoing. And I would have failed if I had that mindset because in the exam, there was a lot of costing. 100% was costing. So you need to learn how to take punches, how to take a loss, but be careful not to fall in love with the losses. You don't suck at auditing. You're just in love with sucking at auditing because it makes you feel better about not studying it. Why would you study something that you know that you suck at? Don't fall in love with the wounds that have been inflicted by PGDA. Number 3 is you need to figure out how to pass. This is going to sound like I'm crazy, but it holds true. And I am glad that Ian does it the way that I do it. So it was like fate, you know, brought us together. I would rather you know how to pass a principle than understand the principle. I'm going to repeat. I would rather you know how to pass a principle than understand the principle. My favorite principle is Section 8.5, indexation. It is recoupment when a lease ends and then the lessee uses uh, the asset for free or they pay a rental fee less than the market value. I don't know why that provision exists, what it means, but if you bring it in front of me right now, I'm going to pass it. Now, this skill is important because nowhere will you ever find a question asking you what recoupment is, what value in use is, what substantive procedures are, and what absorption costing is. But you will be expected to apply those things. Looking at the screen in front of me, they will never ask you what is, uh, they will never ask you the definition of accounting policies. It's never going to happen. But you'll have to apply change in accounting policy. So what I'm saying is listen to Ian here, but listen to him more when he's doing the application of this, because that is how you know how to pass. And like I said, you're very fortunate because that's what he focuses on. He will hardly teach you the theory. Maybe 10, 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes will be going over the theory, but his core focus will be on the application, how to get the marks, how to identify the triggers, and how to present your answers the UNISA way. So it is very important that you go and do any question. Make sure that you have dissected, scrutinized, and understood the questions you've done in this class before doing your questions. I'm going to repeat. It is very important before you do your questions. Make sure that you have dissected, scrutinized, and understood the questions that you are going to be doing in these classes. Watch these videos or recordings 5 times if you have to, because it's here wherein you will learn how to pass. This is very important. The fourth thing is a principle sheet. I'm sure most of you do not even know what I'm talking about. I had to fail PGDA for me to understand what a principle sheet is and why it's important. This is your key to passing PGDA. Without it, you will most likely pass the tests but fail the year. Now, I always say that the way UNISA structure their assessments is a double-edged sword here, because they say for test one, we are only going to focus on unit one. For test two, unit two, test three, unit three. It's good now, but the problem is it does not incentivize you to revise later or to revise now for something that you will do later. So if you're going to do IS 12 now, you're only going to focus it in test one and then ignore it because it won't be in test two and test three. It's nice, but the problem is the integration. I have a friend who was also in the top 100 last year but failed PGDA. And the reason is because he said he had forgotten what we did. Remember, the top 100 is average from test one, two, three, and four. So it's easy for you it's not easy, but because you're tested separately, there's no integration. If you really study those units, it's easier for you to get in the top 100. But the issue is going to start when they integrate from test four and the exam. And trust me, these people can integrate. It's like they are punishing you for the fact that we did not integrate in test one, two, and three.
Yeah,
So,
just
but
a quick one, Ambulan.
yes,
On your point, I did mention to them that remember you're doing year modules. So the content you're covering now, it's either you meet it in the final exam, all right, and then now, so the you but you when you're preparing for the final exam, you don't have time to go back and say,
yes,
what did I learn in test one? Let me redo that work. That's why I
yes,
encourage you guys to say, write notes today. Because when you're preparing for the final, especially for the first timers, I know you haven't experienced the final exams, but they'll give you an exam a tutorial later with about maybe I think 20 100 mark questions. All right. So you're
yes,
doing maybe take for example, you're doing 4 5 modules. So you're sitting now with a pack, all right, 20 100 mark questions that you need to complete per module. Now you don't have time to go back and say, oh, I did income tax in assessment one. So let me redo that. And you find that even if you are to not, the paper they examine in the final, they're not going to bring a 100 mark question or 20 mark question on income tax. Income tax will be sitting with 5 marks, right? Changing accounting
yes,
policy will be sitting with maybe 5 to 10 marks. They just make sure that they examine almost everything, but it's integrated within other topics.
yes.
Hence, it's important. Make notes for yourself today as we're doing classes. All right. That's the only way that we can make it in regards to this. Right. Okay. Whilst Mr. Umbulani is wrapping up, yes, the floor.
Yes, thank you, Ian. So he has explained to you what I was going to explain, why you need a principal sheet. So I'm not going to repeat that. So how you do a principle sheet is, so Ian is going to say, let's do a question, right? You will read the required, write down that required, and then you will read the scenario, and then you will go and do the memorandum. So when you're doing the memorandum or the answer, he will be telling you this 100 was informed by this statement in the scenario. That is very important. A single statement can have 20 marks in PGDA. You will be emphasizing this throughout the year. Make sure you understand triggers. You don't just go and write. A share in taxation can mean a lot of things. You don't just see, oh, this is a shared transaction and say, no, this is an asset for shared transaction. It could be Section 9C. It could be a dividend like in a dividend. No, I think it's paragraph 75. It could be a disposal, the eighth schedule. There could be a loan provided to you by virtue of you holding shares. You need to learn triggers, write the triggers down and go to the memorandum and say, this is the trigger, this is how I should apply it. That is the only way you're going to pass. Like Ian said, you won't have time at the end of the year. Even if they give you 60 days, 60 days is 6 days in PGDA. So make sure you take notes in this class. That's why I emphasized before you do your own questions, do the questions that were done here. Those Excel spreadsheets that you will send, study those things religiously. Ask yourself, why is this answer 100? And then write it down because you will forget it. So write down the notes, have a principle sheet. The next point is you must use UNISA's materials. This is important, especially because UNISA, usually people who are at UNISA doing PhD are from different universities, Ian. So it can be tempting to try out other materials from other universities, especially those of us who did undergrad somewhere. But that's the quickest way to fail PGDA. Now you might be asking yourself, how when IFRS 16 is the same everywhere? The answer is simple. Your script will be marked by a UNISA lecturer, not a UJ lecturer or a UL or a UPS lecturer, but a UNISA lecturer. This is why throughout the year, Ian will be telling you, have you done IS 12, Ian? Income taxes.
Yes, so IS-12 is, yeah, the topic that we've been busy with. We just finished it last week, yeah. So we're done.
Yes, so if you have, I'm sure you guys have noticed that each time you have to calculate the deferred tax, it will tell you UNISA uses the balance sheet approach. It's not crazy repeating that thing every time you do a question. Because even if at UP you were doing the income statement approach and it leads you to the same answer, they won't mark it. So listen to him when he says, this is how you do it at UNISA. That guidance is why you are here in his classes paying. So use UNISA's materials and listen to him when he tells you that use this way because do it this way because this is how we do it in UNISA. You will never find him doing a question from another university, not even the IAC or the ITC. That is how strict he is with this thing because he knows how they mark. He knows what they are looking for when they are marking. So do as he says, the guidance that he'll be providing you when you're doing questions, those are important. And I am almost going to conclude here. Yeah. Time management. I say that time management is for people who don't know the answer here.
Hmm.
And you made me realize this last year because of how fast you would do these questions. We would do a 50 marks question in less than 90 minutes, and you would have given us like, the theory. And that should ideally take us is it 1 hour and 40 minutes under the new IAC
Yes,
guidelines because a
yes,
mark is 2 minutes.
yeah.
And that said to me, if you have to worry about time management, it means that you don't know the answer. That is barring maybe exceptional circumstances like a physical disability. But you don't need to spend the entire 30 minutes on a 15-mark question. If you struggle with time, the uncomfortable truth could be that you don't know the answer or you've identified the principle, but don't know how to apply it. This goes back to a principle sheet, knowing how to pass. You don't know what to write because you have not been taking notes. You don't know what to say when a specific trigger has been identified. So, time management is for people who don't know the answers. And the people who find themselves in such situations are people who try to set their papers. And it happens a lot. That thing of, nah, this won't come. IS 8, it won't come. Uh, Valuations won't come. Like he said, and he says this all the time. If you don't see it in test three, you will see it in the exam. 200 marks is a lot of marks. And like I said, they integrate. That thing of finding a cash flow statement with 50 marks, it's done in undergrad. Here they will bring maybe 20 marks. They have to make sure that they do integrate as much as possible. So you should also do as much as possible. And by doing as much as possible, it puts you in a perfect position to say, oh, this is valuations. I've done this. I know this. So I don't need to spend the entire 40 marks with this. This is IAS 12. And also, I used to think income taxes was difficult. Right now, if you bring me a question, Ian, of income taxes, I'm going to get a total. And it's because of the notes that you are giving. So you see, I'm giving another testament here, testimony. These classes, take them seriously. You won't even have to worry about time management if you're taking these classes seriously. Because even him, he doesn't take the entire allocated time to do this because of he knows the answers. You don't need to worry about time if you know the answer. Now, the second last thing is that you need to rest. This is simple. Resting is part of being productive. Anything you do tired does not count. And if you do not rest, your body will rest for you. And it will usually be at an inconvenient time for you. This is important. I don't know if you've told them this, Ian, but someone has passed away while writing a financial accounting paper
Yes,
in
yes,
PGD.
yes.
Last year, someone was sitting in front of me, fainted or collapsed. I don't know what happened. And it was just fortunate. And you will see when you go and write at every UNISA venue, there will be an ambulance. It's not there for show. It's not. I'll look for the picture and send it to Ian. He will send it to the group. I took it at the UNISA venue. You will find at the Polokwane venue. There's an ambulance. It's not there for show. This thing is brutal, but you need to rest. Your energy drinks, your coffees, your what. Like I said, I know you want to win, but make peace with losing. If you feel like what you've done will give you a 40 and you're tired, rest. The body will rest in its own way. And that way will usually send you to the grave or to a hospital ward. It's unfortunate that it's like that, but you need to rest. Prioritize even if you don't feel like you're tired and Saturday is your day off, rest. I'm not scaring you, Ayanda. This is the reality. He will be telling you this. The story that I started with saying, or he told us, or people walked out of a paper because it was difficult. It happens. Some people just stand up and walk out. So make sure that you get enough rest. The last thing, and I used to take advantage of this a lot. I don't know if these people do it to you, Ian, but you can confirm. I don't think anyone would bother you as much as I would.
I always encourage them. I always tell them that you guys are too relaxed. I haven't had questions coming from you guys. I hope if you cement this, probably they'll just know that it's actually a good thing. All right. When you're stuck with something, it helps quicker. All right. You seek for help as soon as possible because you don't have time to spend 8 hours on
Yes.
one principle. So it's important. When
So,
you're stuck with one area you don't understand, seek advice. All right, consult with me, consult with somebody who's nearby, or that will actually save you a lot of time.
so make sure you bother him because in these classes, let's say you're doing IFRS 15, for example, he's not going to do everything. you will do the 5 steps probably looking at the time. So maybe you're studying and you're doing a question that has to do with loyalty points or right of return. You didn't do it in class. You should go and ask. I used to text him even though I knew he's at work. Sometimes he would tell me, I'm in a meeting, I'll respond later. And then when that time comes, he would find 3 more questions. I was not playing. So make sure that you bother this man. He doesn't mind. Make sure that you ask him questions, give him time to respond. In fact, I think it's better that way because you can always go back to your text message and read. This is how you treat it. I remember last year I asked him about intercompany leases. You know, there's intergroup transaction, there's intergroup leases. You haven't done it. And it came in the exam. And when I was going to write, I was going through the questions I've asked him and the treatments. And that's how I studied it because I had asked it and it was there for me to read. So in my language, we say "Mune muti autusi matutu." I am Venda, right? Which is to say a single finger cannot pick out a popcorn. You have Ian. Let him help you out. Point at the most delicious popcorn. Utilize him. Use him. You will not pass PGDA on your own. You won't. I'm not scaring you guys. You won't. So you have Ian, you have someone who has done this, and he's a very intelligent guy. Sometimes I would sit and ask myself, how can one person be this intelligent? Every standard, he knows it. He knows every standard by head. Make sure that you use that knowledge. You are paying. You're not even paying enough. I'm not saying increase the rate. Yeah. But sometimes I would sit and say, I'm not even paying enough. 500 per month, 2.5 the whole year. It's not even enough for the value that I'm getting here. So make sure that you take advantage of that. So that's that's what I know. I was given 10 minutes, but this I think I've said things that are invaluable and they will go back to this recording and listen to some of those things and realize that it's actually doable. Some people have been here and
Mm,
they've passed it.
true.
So that's it from me. I don't know if you have any questions.
Guys, you can ask him any questions that you feel like you need to know.
Hi, Humbulani.
Hello, Matapela.
Um, I just would like to just understand your summaries when you do your notes. Ne? I
Yes.
struggle a lot because I think I end up writing a whole lot instead of just making points and making valid points of what's needed on the notes. And I struggle with just making summaries that make sense if you understand what I'm saying, because I think it ends up being a lot of no's which won't take me back to the principles, the list of the principles you spoke about. Um, yeah, so that's my struggle at the moment. I don't know how
Okay.
you went about that.
Okay. So I think the issue here, Matapela, is, and also Ian, is you saying that you take notes, right?
Mm,
Because notes can be anything. It can be you saying, what is the definition of prior period errors? That's a note. But for me, that's why I prefer using a principle sheet instead of notes, because a principle sheet, you only write what you have learned when you were doing questions. A note, you can write what is what? What is working capital? You can write the definition. But when you're doing a principle sheet, you write what will earn you the marks. So that's where you need to be focused on. If Ian is explaining the definition of recoupment, you don't need to write that down. But when he starts saying, this is how you treat it, that's when you need to start writing things down because that's where you're going to get the marks. When he says a recoupment will be triggered by the disposal of an asset before the end of the useful life, that's when you say, oh, in the scenario, there will be 8 pages, but they will tell me that a company disposed of this asset. That's the trigger. You write it down. And then you say, how do they treat it? That's where you should be focusing on. Because what makes failing devastating is thinking that you're studying hard by looking at your notes. That's what I used to do in my first attempt. I would look at my notes and say, man, I'm taking a lot of notes, but I'm getting 30. How? I was not studying effectively. Now, I will give you an example, right? And it's IAS 8, changes in accounting estimates. The first thing, and I would write things the way Ian would said it. I got it like, I was in a cult. I was in a cult nyana, Ian. Like when you say something, I'm like, yep, I'm going to write that. So he would say, number one, write the nature of the change from the scenario. That's the first thing. That's a mark, right? And write the amount. That's under disclosure. You see, now I have 2 marks and then do the calculations. That's how you should be looking at your principal sheets or your notes. It should be telling you how to get the marks, not what is what. Does it make sense, Matapel?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you so much.
You,
It
you, see,
makes so
you need
much
to look
sense.
at it like that. You would say, like, for example, another example, I used to struggle with this a lot, actually. The remaining useful life is equal to the useful life at the end of the year plus one. I was writing those things down. They seem like small, but you will forget it. You write those things down. The useful life will be useful life at the end of the year from the scenario plus one. And this is because we have to go back as if the change has taken place at the beginning of the year and not year end. But if I'm given the remaining life at the beginning of the year, I use it as it is. He said those things to me. He can confirm in this very class. And I wrote them down because I knew that as much as they seem like, it's small and I can remember them, I will forget them at the end of the year. So that's what you should be writing down in your notes. Write down what's going to earn you the marks, not what is in the classes.
And also another thing just to add on, remember you guys do open book approach. So it does not make sense for you to write down to say, what is the definition of accounting policy? All right.
Yes.
What is the definition of a change in estimate? Because you already have this in your book. You can easily refer to, all right, in the exam. You carry with you the IFRS books. So what he's trying to say is there's technical stuff, like those things that are not in the book. All right. Those pointers that you said, no, in regards to this, I was studying, all right, I don't have this in the book. Or when you do a question, you say, oh, I learned this. This is something new, all right, I didn't know this. You write down on your notes to say, okay, so when I face a situation like 1, 2, 3, this is how I deal with it. So that is literally what he's telling you now to say, when you make notes, don't just make notes for the sake of it to say, oh, I want to summarize accounting policies. It's a good thing, but what you need to do is, where do I get marks on accounting policies? That is the point he's trying to make there. So in terms
Yes.
of this, just to give you an example, we recently did income tax, all right? So income tax, the definitions and everything, you find them in the IFRS book. So he's trying to say is, now, when I'm examined, disclose the income tax expense not. So you write down, what do I do on income tax expense not?
Yes.
All right. So, okay, so these are the nots that makes up income tax not. Then you see that, oh, when I'm dealing with deferred tax, you don't need to write down what is deferred tax and all that. You need to understand, you write down, okay, on deferred tax, all right, I use this method. This is how my layout is supposed to be. And then if you do that, you'll be able to pass the board. Because at the end of the day, when you're speaking about making small notes, we're not saying write the whole book, because at the end of the day, it will lose the purpose. All right. The idea is to say, towards the exam, all right, or even towards the test, you run through those quick notes, all right, that you made for yourself and say, okay, I'm just going to run through this and I remember it quick. I won't forget this. Yes, Miss Asa. I guess, Sumbulani, you have to respond to your question there.
Oh,
No,
Um,
no, I think you've made it clear. But
No, I think her hand
oh,
is
she has a
up, so
follow-up
probably
question.
she wants to ask you
Oh,
something as well.
oh,
Yes.
okay. Yes, Asanda.
good day, Humbulani. Thank you very much for the presentation. I, for one, was one of those people who just wanted to just quit because this course really can humble someone. But what was interesting is what you said about having to let go of all the other universities that were calling you,
Yes.
and you chose Treasury. I was always skeptical about these things, because there's articles after CTA and all that, and I never knew that at Treasury you can do that, because I'm an employee there, but
Yes.
I'm not in that side. I'm in another side. So if it's fine with you, I'll ask Ian to give me your number so that you can just explain to me how is the process and everything, if it's
Okay.
fine with you.
No, well, yeah, it is okay, and he will give you my numbers. And also I forgot to say this, with letting go of the university. For those of you who watches Game of Thrones, right? There's a scene where Ygritte told Jon Snow that you know nothing, Jon Snow. So that was my approach in my second attempt. I assumed that I know nothing, so I have to learn everything. So this should also be your mindset when you're coming to these classes. Don't say, I'm good with accounting policies. Assume that you know nothing, even though your university is known for being the best at financial reporting. Assume that you know nothing. Let go of your university and do things the way you will be told how to do them here, and you will pass most definitely. Any question? Oh, that was the last. Oh, the top 100 requirements. Well, there are no requirements. You just have to be the best. I know it sounds cocky when I'm saying this, but that is literally the only requirement. You have to be the best 100 of the 8 or 900, meaning or you have to be passing consistently. That's the requirement. So there's no set requirement. Just have the highest average, the top 100 average of everyone. So obviously, if you're going to have the top 100 average, you need to be doing well. And also another thing that I forgot, Ian, he will confirm to you that I used to send my results to him every test week. Whether I did well or I did not do well, I would send him my results. This is what I got. And he was brutally honest with me each time. Like I said, costing. I thought that, I suck at costing. He did not accept that because he was teaching me costing here. So I feel like that's something you also need to do. I think it's embarrassing if someone is doing their best to help you and you're not passing, so it will push you to do well. So he should be someone that you say will hold me accountable to the standard that he knows is required for me to pass PGDA. So make it a habit to send him your results. It will also help you with your reflection. You'll be forced to reflect. Why did I not pass this time? So that's something that I forgot to say.
And also, just to add on that, so it's quite important to always stay motivated. All right. So at the end of the journey, you're going to find out now that they, by nature, we're different. All right. There are some people who complain whether they pass or they fail. But all you need in this journey is to keep company that keeps you positive. All right. There's people who would say, it's fine. Maybe let's say, for example, your marks are not coming out. Like I told you, you find that maybe you're used to getting 70s in your undergrad, and then now you're doing postgrad, and then your marks drop down. It's very much possible to get a mark that's below 20, all right? Or even you'll be sitting in your 20s. In as much as you're putting 40 hours to study in a day, though a day doesn't have 40 hours, but I'm trying to say you're studying as hard as you can possibly do. But the marks sometimes they don't show. So what happens now? You approach somebody, all right, in regards to this, or probably somebody who never traveled this journey. They won't understand. They see you with those big books. You're going to the venue, all right? Some people start calling you names, professor, this, all right? Now, don't let that get into your head, because at the end of the day, the marks might not reflect the hours you're putting in. But what do you need to do? All you need to do is keep positive company. There are some people who come in and say, hey guys, we didn't make it. All right, that's fine. But what do we need to do in order to improve our mark? That's the right approach. All right. So so in regards to this, you heard Mr. Mbeu, he's saying, all right, he was actually honest with you guys. He said, no, throughout this journey, in as much as I was in top 100, there was a point where the marks were not happening. in as much as I'm putting the hours, but the marks were not coming. What did I do? I had to change my study approach. So if you note in regards to this, that is why you find that I don't tell you guys how to study. Why? Because I know for a fact that what works for Miss Asa might not work for Miss Julie. So in regards to this, Miss Julie will be saying, no, me, I studied 2 hours, but I still pass. All right. And then Asa will come in and say, I study 10 hours, but I'm failing. So these are different people. All right. Somebody needs 10 hours to master something. Somebody needs 2 hours to master something. You need to understand yourself. And the mindset of undergrad, we should leave it to undergrad. Right now, we need to focus on say, what works for me? All right. That's the right approach. Focus on the right approach. If you are repeating, there's high risk of failing. In all honest, why?
Yes.
Like Mr. Umbalani said, there's a tendency to say, in regards to this income tax is easy. I know it. Now, what do? You don't practice as many questions. Come the exam, shows you flames. So it's quite important when you're approaching this, take everything as if you're studying it for the first time. Put in as much effort as you used to do in the first time you attempted CTA. All right? That's the only way you can make it. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, there's some in the chat. Are you
Okay.
able to assist Charles Lidoava? Is it Charlie from Teflop? Because I know the name. Charles, are you the Charles from Teflop? Oh yeah, no, yeah, you have my numbers. We can talk. And as someone who's doing this, what is required from me to bring are my notes allowed in the venue other than the standard? This speaks to resting. Allow yourself to rest. If you have to take your notes to the venue, it means you're not giving yourself that opportunity. They are allowed, they will be in your bag, but you need to let go of things, reflect, and then relax. Relaxing is very important. You can take them, but you will be thinking. You don't need to think that hard before you write. So I would not advise it. You can do it. It's up to you, but it puts you under a lot of unnecessary pressure because now you have an entire principal sheet. Maybe working capital ratios will come, maybe weighted average cost of capital will come, maybe cost of preference shares will come. So I would not advise that, but you can do it. But I don't think that's a good idea. And the venue, you will be given a form, and then you'll choose the venue closest to you.
Okay, guys.
So
I don't know if there's any questions in regards to this. I know, of course, time is no longer.
I
Yes.
just want to Umlani, maybe what she's asking, isn't it? Maybe you taking it when you're gonna write, you can open your notes. I'm not sure if I understand her like that or not, but you're not allowed. It's only the standards that you'll be having
Yeah,
there.
that's unethical.
If yeah, if she's asking like
All right.
So in terms of the notes, all right, you can carry your notes. Then you browse through like for example, remember you guys you write test and then but maybe during your lunch break or during those 15 minutes break, that's when you can browse through your notes. But during the actual exam or test, you're not allowed to use any notes. You're only allowed to use your IFRS books, and you're not allowed to write inside the books, like for example, the principles other than what we have there. Right? The only thing they allow you to on the books is to flag to say, no, I know this is my income tax standard. So you just write income tax, then you put a flag on the side, and then you can say for accounting policy, you can just put a flag to say this is accounting policy, this is change in estimate, this is prior period error. So those kind of things they do allow you to write on the side, but you're not allowed to write principles in the book. So that's how it works in regards to the exam.
And another one in the chat box. Yeah, Ian will help you. on how to flag the standard. He will tell you what to flag. So attend your classes with your standards. I don't know if you can say anything on that, Ian, but I feel like you did that well, actually. Taught me how to flag and highlight properly, highlight what is necessary instead of just highlighting the whole the whole
Yeah,
page.
I think I'm not sure. I think I she joined a little bit late, but if you're not, all right, if you attend all the classes, you'll find that in each and every class, all right, I try my best possible to say, guys, this is how you highlight your book and so forth. But of course, with regards to accounting, I haven't really reflected to the guys how to highlight, but on text, we have done that, and auditing as well. I've shown the guys on how to highlight them. All right, but of course, for accounting, I'm still here to show you how do you highlight and which book you need to carry to the exam, and which book has examples that you can also use during the test and the exam there. All right, so we are yet to learn more with regards to flagging and highlighting when it comes to accounting. All right. Anything else, guys, that you have? Right. Here's my question. Did this session help? Do you guys feel better now?
Yes, I can say it. I feel better. Thank you so much, Bulan and Ian. I feel better. Thank you.
Okay. Others, did it help or you
I've also
still?
gained my confidence because, hey,
Mm,
truly speaking, I didn't see myself going through this year, but yeah, Humulani made me
mm,
gain my confidence, especially when he said it was the second time to him. I'm like, okay,
mm.
no, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mbeu. We really appreciate it. I'll constantly invite him over, all right, to discuss some principles with you guys, all right. And also, all right, with his permission, of course, I'll try to convince him. Maybe we can add him to the groups as well so that he can constantly motivate you guys, all right, in regards to this. But of course, I'll speak with him. All right. So guys, I know time is just moving, all right? So what I'm gonna do, all right, in regards to this, I will schedule this class, all right, to Sunday. All right, so we're gonna do this class to Sunday. We just left with a few minutes there. So just gonna redo this class to Sunday, all right, in regards to this. All right, but everything that's been said, guys, if you have a therapist, all right, if you want to make use of those services and so forth, make use of that. And also, this is actually, no, honest, if I can be honest with you, the session that you had with him, all right, it was actually therapy that's been for free, all right. You won't find anywhere that you get the words he mentioned. This was gold, all right. It's rare for you to meet people who are honest with you guys to share with you the journey. Most people, what they do, if you're in his position, is going to come and say, hey, guys, all right, with me, yeah, I was in top 100. All right. And then you see, you guys will feel pressured, but he gave you guys the humps that came through. All right. In as much as it was in top 100, his marks were really good, honest. Uh, he
Okay.
also mentioned the obstacles he faced to say it's actually easy to fail, but at the same time, it's also easy to get up, right, and still make it. So that is what is really important. So throughout the year, to the guys who are repeating, or even you, most of you guys did year modules last year, you agree with me, a lot happens during the year. You can lose a relative, you can get sick, and just a lot of things can happen. So hence we're saying every minute counts. All right, there will be the unexpected events that can happen. So now imagine, take for example, all right, you'd said I'm gonna start studying maybe in March to prepare for the test. And then come March, you got flu, you can't study. So what's gonna happen? The next thing you come and say, I can't go write the exam because I wasn't prepared. Or you go and say, I'm just gonna write the test. But you wasted. You had Feb to prepare. But what did you do? You chose to relax. And also another thing, guys, is that thing to say I'll study towards the exam, like what you used to do in your undergrad, it won't work. In honors, guys, what happens is the knowledge gaps, once you have knowledge gaps, it will catch up in the exam. You might do well on the test. I'm sure you heard him. The exam is about integration. And the principles not examined in the test, you meet them in the exam. So that means to say, if you study one night, all right, and then you pass, you can pass the test with 80s, all right? But the fact that you have knowledge gaps in you, it will catch up in the final. Hence, we're urging you guys to say, study almost on each and every time you get. Draft for yourself a simple timetable that you stick to. All right, you say, now, in regards to this, when it comes to simple timetable, now it helps you with discipline. All right, you come in and say, so timetable, study timetable. Now, we can all agree that the body needs discipline. If you don't discipline your body, it will come and say, today I'm tired. So what do? Now, if you have a timetable, take for example, you say from, okay, let's say Monday. All right, so you say Monday I'm studying accounting. All right, Monday I'm studying accounting. Tuesday I'm studying tax. All right, and then Wednesday, just as an example, I'm studying auditing. Now, you are more organized, unlike somebody who just wake up and say, why do I feel like studying today? Then they say, today I'm just going to do accounting. All right? And then the following day, they say, what should I study today? I'm just going to do accounting. I'm enjoying accounting. All right? And then the third day, they'll say, I'm going to do tax. All right? Now, what is happening with this? This person is not balancing the modules. All right, to the guys who are doing CTA, what happens now is for you to pass, you need all modules completed in one sitting. So now, if you give more attention to this one, all right, and then you neglect this one, what's going to happen? This is going to actually cost you in the exam. So hence it's important to balance your time. And also another thing that's going to happen is as you'll be studying, you're going to find out now, maybe the marks for accounting will be very high. And then tax has lesser marks. Audit has lesser marks. What are you tempted to do? You're tempted now to give tax more hours. That's the wrong approach. Because why? You're going to neglect accounting. And then accounting, it will chow you in the exam. So hence it's important, balance your times. Right? If you find out that, no, I'm passing accounting quite well, that's good. You can say, okay, if I was doing 9 hours of accounting per week, maybe I can take 1 hour and allocate it to tax. Not to take completely all the hours or probably half. That's a recipe for disaster. So please, guys, let's have the right approach. We're not having this session. I'm sure you guys agree with me that this time Mr. Mbeu is coming from work. All right, you could have done other things with his time. But I had to beg him, please, can you just come talk to these guys? I'm not doing this for fun. All right, I'm not doing this to market myself. I'm doing this for you guys. We put you guys first because at the end of the day, I'm sure some of you guys have never advertised to you guys, all right? But it is the former colleagues or the guys we have who are still attending now who said, no, join this guy. Why? Because we care for you guys. We want you guys to do well. That is why we're here today. That is the logic. That is the whole point with all these exercises. All right. So what you need to do from now onwards, all right, is the right approach and also hang around the right people. All right. Don't hang around people who talk too much. Like, for example, you're studying, instead of focusing on the studies, now you're spending all the time, you're chatting, you're discussing. Ian wasn't talking well, he was using broken English or whatever thing. That's wasting your time. You need somebody who said, no, this is my study mate. All right. Of course, most of you are ladies. You talk a little bit, you discuss a few things. How was the day and all that? You gossip a little bit. And then what's the next thing? Let's study. We don't chit chat a lot. Most of our energy is focused on studying. You need somebody who will come in and say, today I'm not feeling well. Or I don't feel like studying. But this person will come and say, how about we just do accounting? You see, they're pushing you. That's the only way. That's the type of people you need during this year. Right. Anything else from you guys? Mr. Mbeu is still here, right, in regards to this. Yes, Doron.
Hmm. Hi everyone. I just wanted to ask, since I've noticed that from test three from test one to test three is 40 marks, and you, according to what you said, is that they for each test, then they will assess each specific topics that are covered for those tests. Then I want to understand in that 40 marks, will they the questions be like maybe I separate IS 12 and accounting policies, or they will try to integrate? And also going forward, we know most topics in accounting will affect IS 12 as we go forward. So will they disregard IS 12 implications going forward, since maybe the trophy peak was covered in test one, or how is it going to be?
Uh, well, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, the 40 marks thingy, because it's possible that they only bring income taxes. It's very much possible, and they ignore everything else. So they can integrate within that unit, but you can never expect integration out of that study unit. But it's easier. The integration is easy. Sometimes you won't even notice it because I think unit three is financial assets. It's non-financial assets. Your PPEs, your intangible asset, investment property. So you won't even see that there's integration. So they do, but it's not as difficult because it's limited to that unit. Which brings me to your question about income taxes. Income tax for IFRS 2 is income tax for IFRS 2. That's what's his name? Mr. Masia is a lecturer in accounting. I don't know if you know him yet, but he will conduct some of the classes. When I asked him that question, can I expect income tax in other units? So how you will expect it is, the tax implication of journals basically. But mostly they will say ignore taxation because they know it's waiting for you at the end. They don't want you to think you're done with taxation. So even if it does come, it will just be, 27% of what you've done above. You won't see it in its entirety. They won't tell you to give us an income tax journal, or what's that one for movement in
Temporary difference.
I forgot. Yes. So it won't be as heavily tested, but so it's either going to come in unit one or the exam, like Ian is always say. If you don't see it in the unit that you're dealing with right now, you best believe it's coming in the end. But throughout the year, it won't be there. Let's say it won't be there. Even if it is, it will be maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 marks.
Okay, thanks for answering. Then last question also relating to this, right?
Yes.
Um, like how are they expecting the students to master the implications of those temporal difference? Because as you go throughout the topics, then you'll realize that each and every most topics in accounting will touch on deferred tax, most of them, and some of them are complex as you go through groups and stuff like that. Now you reach the final exam, it has been tested less, and then how do they expect? Is there any material? Do they give a lot of integrated material where students can test those principles, especially for these other topics?
Well, how they expect you to master those things is what Ian has been doing with you. Remember, the issue is not integration per se. You cannot struggle with integration if you understand IAS 8 individually as a separate standard. So you don't struggle with integration of income taxes because it's been integrated. You struggle with integration of income tax because you don't understand income tax as a separate standard. So just do what Ian is doing with you here. When he gets to groups, he will say, this is how the tax implications in the context of a group are dealt with. So take it a unit at a time, master the individual standards, make sure you have a principle sheet, and you won't have an issue with your integration. Because if I ask you what's 2 plus 2 right now, when I'm telling you later to tell me what's 2x plus 2x once you've included the alphabets, you won't have an issue because you understood the individual standards. I think that's what they try to do by saying focus on this unit. Like I said, it's nice, but it also has its own issues. So don't try to think holistically about the integration at this point. What you're supposed to be doing right now is focusing on understanding the individual income tax on its own. When you have to deal with IAS 36 with impairment, you will deal with the tax implication there. Like I said, they're usually easy. You won't find it will be, the tax implication of impairment loss, which is just taking the impairment loss and multiplying it by 27%, which you won't struggle with if you understand income tax as an individual standard. If you have to do cash flow statements, if they say there's an IFRS 9 transaction, if you understand IFRS 9 financial instruments, if you now have to do it in cash flows, you won't have an issue because you understand it as a separate standard. The same goes for PPE. If you have to do a PPE in the context of a cash flow, which is integration, you won't have an issue because you understand it as a separate standard. So focus on the separate standard, understanding it. Integration does not bring new things. It integrates what you know. So now because there's integration, they're not going to take something from somewhere and say we're bringing it. They're integrating the separate standards. So focus on that. The integration won't scare you. So basically, before writing the integrated test, we need to be fully prepared for every model. Like Ian said, they will give you fully integrated 100 marks question for 100%. They should not scare you. Uh, don't, this works for me, right? I didn't, after test 4, Ian, I did not do a single practice question. I swear to God. What I would do was come to your Excel sheets and just scroll, clicking on the answers, going to the memorandum. So, which is to say, I was not scared of integration because I was comfortable with individual standards. So, yes, Charles, you need to be comfortable with every standard on its own before you worry about integration. Integration is not difficult if you are comfortable with the standards.
All right. Cool, guys. Perfect, guys. You heard him, all right, in regards to this. I'm sure during the year, all right, we'll try also to bring him back to, especially after the test results, just to motivate you guys again. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mbeu. We'll talk, of course, after this. But we really appreciate it. All right. I'm sure you heard him as well. Another motivation in regards to this, he's talking about the numbers. All right. I know you guys are accountants, you speak numbers. He's telling you the career. All right. It pays, according to him, he's saying it pays quite well. All right. So if you do well, all right, remember everybody wanted his signature because in regards to this, he was very much marketable. So if you work extra hard, there's always a reward. Everybody wants your signature in regards to this. You actually open doors. Even if, all right, in regards to this journey, if you just pass with your 50s, all right, it will also open doors. As the people in the corporate or the guys who are in the corporate already, I'm sure they'll tell you some guys already who are doing this is because in the corporate, all right, people respect CIs. All right, that's what happens in the corporate. All right, they'll give you your flowers. All right, in the corporate. When you speak, people listen. So I urge you guys, study hard. All right, stay focused. I'm sure you guys were making notes. If not, of course, you can run through the recording in everything you mentioned when it comes to your academic career. Thank you so much, Mr. Mbeu. We really appreciate it, sir. I'm sure it means a lot to these guys. I'm sure they're now in the rightful state of mind. But if there's anything they need to clear out, of course, we'll definitely share with you whatever grievances they have, and then you will definitely assist us there. All right, any last questions or anything before we close, guys? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask, not about today. About today, thank you. It was very informative. I just wanted to ask about the exercise that we did on Sunday. If we will receive the
The income
the
tax.
solution.
Okay, all right. No problem. I'll share with you. Yeah, I'm glad you actually practice that. That's actually the rightful approach when it comes to study. You know, there's some exercises that I give you guys, and then I believe we're all adults, right? We take accountability for it. If you don't attempt it, I'm not gonna come back and say, why didn't you do it? Right? We adults. But those are positive steps towards passing this. That was actually a past exam paper, all right, that I shared with you. Now, it's just signed to show you that in regards to your studies, you can actually meet a question. It was like a 7-mark question on income tax. So if you attempted that, all right, it means now you're more or less closer to being comfortable with income tax. If sometimes income tax, it comes with a lot of marks, sometimes just a few marks. But if you scoop all the marks, that's positive and something good. Right. Cool, guys. Have a wonderful evening, guys. I'll see you guys on Sunday when it comes to this, right? And Mr. Mbe, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem, and good night.
Thank you, Ian and Humbulani. Night,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Yeah.